watching SHEM Ministries. Souls honoring Elohim's mandate. And now for today's message.
Well, hello. Welcome to SHEM Ministries. That is souls honoring Elohim's mandate. Souls honoring Elohim's mandate. And tonight is our SHEM 2 night. That is a spiritual, healthy, enlightening mandate ministry. And I am evangelist, prophetess, Dr. Anna Shaw Devlin. I am a family nurse practitioner and one of the lead servants in this ministry. Why am I taking the time to slowly articulate this ministry, introducing the ministry? Well, the reason I am doing that tonight is because out of obedience to the Spirit of God, I am going to share with you what God has shared with me regarding this ministry. And this is my little intro to the message on tonight, which is part 2 of last week. However, let me just say this. So last night, I was just scrolling through and I was, looking at views. Who's been viewing the ministry, right? I went to, I know we have followers. I know there are people who, subscribed and I'm not going to say that the numbers are accurate or whatever, However, when I went through and especially when I was looking at YouTube, right, and it was saying no views. I was like, no views, what, And the Lord said to me today, because I was thinking about it, I was pondering on it. I said, no views, really? He told me not to worry about that because this is just a precursor of what is to come. And if you don't have the faith to believe in the impossible things that look like they won't never happen, but you still believe it, right? It's the substance of things unseen that we measure our faith walk, is still believing it, even though you don't see it. I look at the picture, right? I didn't hide my edges because I don't physically see them filling in the way that I want them to and been working toward and doing the things that I was told to do. But to God be the glory. Does that mean that I don't believe it? Yes. Even if they do not fill in until the day I die, I believe God. That is the faith that I have to believe what I don't see. Well, how does that pertain to this ministry? Well, I'm going to read you a scripture because what I'm trying to tell you is get ready, get ready, get ready. Because God has been getting Pastor Devlin and I ready for what is to come. You practice before you become a successful, well, maybe successful is not the word, but before God does what I know God is going to do in this ministry, practice. Time to learn and make advancements and all of this that I'm trying to say to you is in the Word of God. So let me, first of all, give God all the honor, the glory, the thanks, and the praise, and ask my God to let the flesh be crucified so that he can use me as an empty vessel to speak unto you on tonight what thus saith the Lord. Okay, that's my prayer. Now let's go to the Word of God, because I have to read to you what God told me to read to you in regards to this ministry. Okay? Because Pastor Devlin and we work full-time jobs. Pastor Devlin and I live a life where we give. And we don't give looking for nothing in return, because we know who we are given to. We know who we are making sacrifices for. Okay? So, the Word of God. Please go with me. And I have my husband's anointed Bible. Glory be to God. Please go with me to Matthew chapter 25. And I'm going to read 14 through 21. Okay? 14 through 21. So first, I want you to know that this is a parable, Jesus's parable of the talents. Okay? Now, for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. So the kingdom of heaven, right? Okay. A man traveling into a far country. Pastor Devlin and I, when he began this ministry and I joined him, that is a far country, not known to you. It doesn't mean that you know everything about the country and the landscape, the platform, all of that stuff, right? That you see people who have these elaborate ministries where the cameraman, the sound man, the music, the everything is all in place, right? We had to figure it out little by little. Technological difficulties. We went from having to not enough bandwidth and internet and all of that stuff, but to God be the glory. It's a work in progress, okay? And I'm not saying that making excuses for anything. I'm just prophetically telling you what thus saith the Lord about this ministry. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His Lord said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. Glory be to God. I got to stop and pause right there, because that is what God said. Pastor Devlin and I, and I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I see the handwriting on the wall. We have been faithful, and I know we are coming up on 6 years of ministry together. Now, he and I both were ministers unto the Lord even before we married. Okay? But since we married, glory be to God, I know, and those of you who know us know that we have been faithful over a few things. We don't stand on the mountaintop and we don't shout, I did this and I did that. We don't even talk about the things that we have done, because it is a innate part of our being to give and not look for nothing in return. But I'm saying that tonight to say to you, the Bible says, I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. And I'm saying to you, as a woman of God, prophetically, however, whatever you want to say, this statement is, watch and see where being faithful over a few things will take thee. Watch, see, and rejoice in knowing the living testimony of servants who started with a nothing. According to what you see. But if you only could see what's deep down on the inside, the way God sees us, glory be to God. And I'm not saying that because I want you to see. It doesn't matter. I'm just using me, myself, and my husband as the living testimonies that we are. When the day comes, you'll be able to say, I remember when. Yes, I remember when. But God is taking this ministry. Woo, glory be to God. Hallelujah. Father, I thank you. I thank you, Lord. I thank you. He's taking us places. But we're in the dressing up room. You know, you keep trying on outfits to get the right fit. You keep, you do what you can do until, listen, to God be the glory. Let me get off of that and let's move forward with the message that God has given me. And this, of course, is part 2. And I will share with you and say we will have a part 3 on next week. Because today we are still focusing more on the advance directive part of being well informed and making the right decisions. Because if you do not have your house in order, now most people know that things can happen if you shoot. Let me see. I'm trying to use a good analogy of not having your house in order. I mean, a lot of people are comfortable with knowing if you don't have a life insurance policy and you die, you're comfortable in knowing that, because now we have these GoFundMes. So people aren't as whatever as they used to be about not having a life insurance policy, because the people give and donate so a person could be buried. Okay. But before the GoFundMes, and I know for a fact because my mom has done this for her loved ones. She went to the funeral home, and I'm not going to say she took out a loan or whatever, but she paid for the burial, and they buried her loved one, and she made payments until the funeral was paid for, like a credit card almost. I mean, on credit. Go ahead and bury them, but I'm going to sign my life away that I will pay for this funeral. Because they died unexpectedly or whatever and didn't have life insurance. So we understand the significance and the importance of having some type of insurance or way to fund a burial. And even if you don't have a funeral, cremation costs money too. Okay? It does. So we're not going as far as death. We are saying that having an advance directive, telling people that in the event that this occurs, this is what I do and do not want, is very beneficial. You know why? Because without one, who knows what'll happen to you? And can people, if your family don't agree, oh boy, it don't take long, and you cannot preserve, or you don't have much time. Let me just put it that way, to make decisions. You can't say to the doctor, well, give me 72 hours to get up with my family that's in such and such, and let them come here and whatever. And I don't have their number, and we ain't got time for all of that. So you gotta have an idea of what to do. And you need to be well informed of the choices that can be made, the decisions, the process involved. Okay? All right. And these documents and these things that I'm talking about, there's no excuse in the world. It is not like you are having to pay hundreds of dollars to get these documents in order. No, the hospital offers them to you. And they have a notary, and they even get witnesses to witness your signature. It's a done deal. So there's no excuse in this world for us not to have things in place. There's absolutely no excuse for us who talk to our family every day. We eat together. We party together. There's no excuse in this world for you not to open your mouth and say what your wishes are. That's right. And don't let your family find out after you die you have no insurance. Stop it. The same way, glory be to God, Father, in the name of Jesus, give me the strength to say this. If you can get your hair fixed, get your nails done, okay? If you can go out and eat for your birthday, celebrate Christmas, and there's no reason that you cannot have a term life insurance policy. Nope. I'm sorry. Okay? Even if you have to bargain with your family who may have a few dollars extra, you have not because you ask not. Hey, I will come and cut your grass if you pay my life insurance policy. I will every month sacrifice doing your laundry or washing your car, and so that you can pay my term life insurance policy. What? Never thought about that. Why not? There's no excuses. There's no excuses. Stop doing that to people. It doesn't make sense. You can smoke cigarettes, okay? You can get you a six-pack, only drink once a month. Well, guess what? Take your cigarette money and your six-pack money and add it up for the whole month, and then subtract the amount of money that it would cost you to have a term now. Term life insurance don't cost as much as whole life. Have you a term life insurance policy so that your family, who is mourning over the loss of you, who is having to pay bills and do things after you leave this world, okay? And they don't mind because they love you. And we know that death is a part of life, okay? But don't add that weight and extra burden on them. So that's the policy. So the other thing I'm saying do is have the advance directive. So we're going to be well informed so that so they will know how to make the right decisions for you in the event that you can't make them for yourself. All right, so part 2, we're going to start with, I'm going to put up my little, oh gosh, my mind went blank just now. Outline, okay? Outline. So there's my outline, but may not leave this up the whole time. And I'm not going to go back and backtrack on things that we've already talked about. We did get to the end where I was going to tell you How do I create an advance directive? When do advance directives go into effect? And can they be, when do they expire? We're going to do that. And then we're going to get more in depth in the types of advance directives. So let me just get rid of the outline so we can make this bigger. All right. So, and I had already told you what an advance directive is. It's a legal document, okay? So how do I create an advance directive? It doesn't have to be complicated. And I've got a sample of them for you, okay? And they're different types. They can be as simple as writing down your wishes. Just write them out. However, make sure to follow the laws in your state. We talked about that. And you may wish to have a lawyer or your health care provider review any documents. So you write it out, and just in case you leave something important out, like a term that is necessary, you may, like I said, you don't have to have a lawyer to read it, but I mean, you can many times just share it with your healthcare provider, and they can say, oh, don't forget to put this in there, okay? But I have samples of that. I have samples for you so that you will be well informed. And please, please, please understand, you can take a screenshot of these things that I am putting up before you. But I recommend people have a pen and paper with these lectures, but if you don't, take a screenshot, okay? And guess what? It's recorded. So you can go back, if you don't have those things in place right now, you can go back and play it again later and take a screenshot, okay? So get someone to review it, then make sure to sign it. Your legal signature, your signature now. And everybody knows you sign your name and you print your name, okay? And then it's notarized. And I told you on last week that even your bank where you bank at will notarize for you. So make sure to sign and have it notarized before giving copies to your provider and your loved ones. So when do these advance directives go into effect? They only go into effect if you can't communicate your medical wishes. Because guess what? Just because you have an advance directive don't mean you yourself can't change your mind as to what's on your advance directive. You can say, you know what, I did this advance directive 2 years ago, but since then, I decided to do something different. Well, guess what? As long as you're able to communicate, right? The advance directive only goes into effect. What's written on that paper is when you cannot make decisions for yourself, okay? However, it is important to know that emergency medical technicians, they cannot honor them. They cannot. They must do, and this is what we talked about on last week, but this was important enough for me to say to you again. And I have a slide that will show you all of them compared together. But they must do what's necessary to stabilize you first to transfer to a hospital. And an advance directive can only be implemented after you're at the hospital and you're evaluated and determine that, what's going on with you, right? Get you stabilized. Is this something we can fix? Is this something that we can't fix? Blah, 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 blah. And then we'll talk about DNR and all of that stuff again as well. And but now let's talk about changing your advance directive. Yes. You may cancel or change your advance directive at any time as long as you can think rationally and state your wishes clearly. In fact, it's a good idea to review your advance directive periodically to make sure it still contains your most up-to-date wishes. And that's what I was telling you, that if you hadn't had a chance, you still can speak up and say, no, I don't want that anymore, and have it redone, or whatever. And then after making the changes, that's why I say about having it redone, have it sign and notarize a new one, and make sure you do what you need to do by sharing that with other people. Do they expire? No, they do not. Advance directives do not expire. So don't let nobody say, I have one, but it expired. No. Nope. They remain in effect unless you make any changes. It is important that you review them, okay? And like I said, the new one that you do will invalidate the old one, okay? Now, shared decision making, we're going to talk about that on next week. Let me see. Did I miss anything that I wanted to share on this other? No. We already talked about if you didn't have an advance directive. I talked about that on last week. So let's go to this right here, because we're going to move forward, and I need you to understand that an advance directive also includes donor registry enrollment form. So if you chose to be an organ donor, okay, and you change your mind, how about get your driver's license fixed? Please. Because people forget that decision to be an organ donor, how binding that is, okay? Or even, now I'm not going to say that they're just going to, you die and they're just going to, do something with your organs. All it is an advance directive. It is not a consent to donate the organs. Your family, anyway, we'll get to that. But remember, advance directives are only directions for people to know your desires. So having the little heart on your driver's license is just saying if you get in a car accident and you die and you're by yourself, or you get in an accident and you're gravely ill and you're on the verge of dying. I worked in the emergency room. Guess what we do? We look for a wallet. We look for driver's license, because we don't know who you are. That's why they put the heart for organ donor on your driver's license, because it's illegal or to drive, you get penalized for driving without a license, okay? So understand that is also an advance directive. So you have your healthcare power of attorney, which is an advance directive, okay? You have your living will. You have your do not resuscitate orders, and you have your donor registration. All right. Those are all advance directives. Now, I want to go here, and I want to, let me see. Before I do that, hold on. Let me give you, let's go back and define just a little bit more. I do need to probably, I didn't want to backtrack, but let me remind you, especially for those who were not with us on last week, the types of advance directives before I show you that, okay? The living will, the living will dictates which medical treatments you want and which you wouldn't want. So the advance directives, some are more specific than others. Okay. But the living will says it's a type of advance directive that says specifically about medical treatments. And I have an example here. All right. That's why I wanted to go back and show you that. And I hope this is big enough for you to read. But if you look at it, and I hope you can make your screen bigger, and this is just a generic living will, okay? But this document contains 2 parts. That's the reason why the living will is, if I had to pick and choose, I definitely want to make sure I have at least the living will, okay? Because the living will, both parts are for use when you can no longer communicate your wishes. And you may choose to sign one or the other or both. So you can pick and choose which one. The first form is called a healthcare directive, which, okay. The problem that I have in explaining this stuff is because, unfortunately, there's so many different, each state has their own what's legal in each state. And so many times it's the same thing as saying this. So it's easy to get confused because one state may call it this, another state may call it that, but basically they're the same thing. So a living will is also a healthcare directive. So you may hear it called either or, but understand that it's the same thing. And it tells your healthcare provider your preferences for end-of-life treatment. Not necessarily an advance directive that would say, like a most or a post, and we'll get to that too, specific treatments you do or don't want. Okay, like, do I want to be put on a ventilator, blah, 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 blah. Like, do I want IV fluid? Do I want labs drawn? Do I want diagnostic tests done? Those are more specific to them, and we'll get to that. But for the most part, a healthcare directive is a living will, and it tells whether or not when you do or do not want life support. That is the main thing of having a living will. And some people don't care to make decisions about IV fluid, diagnostic tests, and all of that stuff. This living will may be the only thing that is important to you. Some people just don't care about all of that other. I don't care if they make those decisions or not for me. But you may specifically just want to make these decisions, okay? So the second part is called a healthcare power of attorney. And this healthcare power of attorney allows you to appoint another person to make healthcare decisions on your behalf, okay? Healthcare directive living will, and it says here, this form was completed and signed, and I just realized, you know what, I don't think I put both parts up here. There's a part 1 and part 2, and I do apologize. I wanted to show it to you, but we'll just have to talk about it. But the second part is the healthcare power of attorney, saying who can appoint another person to make healthcare decisions on your behalf, taking into account your wishes. But the living will does have both parts, 2 of these things. What you do not want, end of life, and who can make those decisions in your absence. Please understand those are the 2 main things in a living will. And the living will is a type of advance directive, okay? All right. So If you do not wish to fill out this form and just wish to designate a healthcare agent, you can draw an X through the following section. So it's saying, look, it's not an easy thing, but the problem we have is when we don't do these, okay? And you would put your name, your address, blah, 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 social security number if you need to, the last 4 digits, blah, blah, blah. And whether or not I desire that my doctor make a concerted effort to return me to an acceptable quality of life using then available treatment and therapies. However, if my quality of life becomes unacceptable. Now, this is not a DNR where you say, I absolutely do not want. This is saying that, do I want you to leave me on life support? Okay. But if your quality of life becomes unacceptable, as I have defined below, and my doctors have determined that my condition will not improve, that it's irreversible, I direct that all treatments that extend my life be withdrawn. So it's not a DNR, but you're telling them that an unacceptable quality of life means to you what you determine and feel is unacceptable. If you are total dependence on others for daily care. What? No longer able to recognize family or friends. See, you don't understand this. You don't want, if you have advanced dementia and you don't even recognize your family or friends and you can't do nothing for yourself, you're saying that this is what I determined to be my quality of life. And if I were to not have that, I don't want life-sustaining treatments and therapies. Okay? All right, so that's that. So when I say well-informed, making the right decisions, you gotta review these documents and understand what is on them in order to be well-informed. If someone's asked you, do you have a living will? Know what they're talking about, okay? All right, so the next thing that we're going to move on to, we talked about the most and the post. So let me show you this here. And each state may have a little different one, okay? And this one, I told you on last week that a post, POLST, is a physician order for life-sustaining treatment. And it says that a physician, a nurse practitioner, or a PA can assist you in doing this form. Okay? And you fill it out. A is about cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So they break it down, A, B, C, D. And you just go through, and it's well written, and these are the major decisions that people would have to make. It doesn't, you can get even more specific, but look at B, medical interventions. Well, I'm sorry, A, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, whether or not you want someone to do CPR or not. Do you see that on this post, it says, do not attempt resuscitation, DNR? Okay? So you can identify on this post, but then also this, you would likely need to have the do not resuscitate order. So let me show you that real quick. And I did pull up the one for North Carolina. So this one is the blank. And the reason why I did this one is because I know in North Carolina, our do not resuscitate, and it may be true for, I didn't pull up for other states, but most states, I can say for sure, most states, it's yellow. The yellow document with the red stop sign is basically universally used as a do not resuscitate order. And the reason I can say that is because in other states, when I call the emergency room and I speak to the ER staff, they will say whether or not they got the stop sign or not, the yellow stop sign or the yellow form with the stop sign. It's basically universal. And it says, stop, do not resuscitate me. This is one in particular, like I said, for North Carolina and the Department of Health and Human Services. Do you see their little logo on it? Okay. And that's where it's originated. And here is the one specifically more with instructions on it, right? And the patient's name in the event of cardiac and or pulmonary arrest of the patient. Should not be resuscitation should not be initiated. This order does not affect other medically indicated in comfort care. This just says don't intubate me, resuscitate me, don't do chest compressions, okay? It didn't say, and a lot of people are scared to sign these or have these signed because they think it means that you're not going to get the care that you need. No, that is not what it means, okay? You're still going to get antibiotics and IV fluid and all of that stuff unless you specifically say on that post or that most that you do not want those things. This is just part A of the post, okay? Is the do not resuscitation part. And signature of attending physician, physician assistant, nurse practitioner. Yes, we can sign them, this, that, and the other. However, I, as not being the primary provider for them, I do not make those decisions because I am not working in that capacity as your primary provider. Not the job that I do currently, okay? Go back to the post. Now, the post part B says medical interventions, right? If the patient is found with a pulse and or is breathing, full treatment. Do you want full treatment? Do you want selective treatment? Or do you want comfort-focused treatment? I am not going to go through each and every one of these, but do know Part B tells them, do you want everything done? Or do you see the little box that says trial period or full treatment? You can make a decision. You can say, I want it all or none or whatever. But it allows you to be very specific here. And it's done orderly. Selective treatment. Do you see where it says in addition to treatment described in comfort-focused treatment? So it's saying everything on the comfort plus use the medical treatment. IV antibiotics and IV fluid is indicated. Do not intubate me. May use non-invasive positive airway pressure, which that is like a CPAP not CPAP, but a BiPAP machine. Generally avoid intensive care. Generally, did not say you can't go to intensive care. It depends on what you need in intensive care. There are certain types of medications that the nurses are not trained to do out on a medical floor. There may be certain medications that require cardiac monitoring. So you may end up needing intensive treatment, being in an intensive care unit, but that is only because of the training, the ability to monitor you closely. Nothing to do with the ventilator and how gravely ill you are. You can still be alert and oriented and be in an intensive care unit, okay? All right. C, artificially administer nutrition. Whether or not you want a feeding tube or you want parenteral IV nutrition, okay? Total parental nutrition. It's called TPN. All right, so long term, do you want a trial period or none whatsoever? D, information and signatures. This is proof that it was discussed with the patient. The legally recognized decision maker, which would be your healthcare surrogate, healthcare power of attorney, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that's all the details of that. And the signatures, this, that, and the other. Okay? All right. So, and do you see at the bottom it says send this form with the patient whenever transferred or discharged? All right. Now, I do want to move on to this one just to show you. This is another example. This one, though, is a little more complex only because it gives more information, directions for the healthcare provider, how to use it, completing it, using it, reviewing it, and modifying it. All the specific things you need, but it's no different than the other. It has everything that the first one did. Okay, now I want to show you this here. There we go. This is the MOLST, MOLST. And basically, it's medical orders for life-sustaining treatment. And this is filled out and it's kept, it says most formed during travel to different care settings. The physician keeps a copy. And this one specifically came from the New York State Department of Health. And it also includes, this is just life-sustaining now. Remember I told you the living will, you say whatever you want, life-sustaining interventions. Well, this is a little bit more specific just for life-sustaining treatment. And it's specific to that. It does not include the pulse with the IV nutrition and all of that. So but it's all an advanced directive, okay? These are part of, anyway. Let me see. Ingredients. There's different types of cakes. Some cakes have certain ingredients. Some cakes have different ingredients, but they're all a cake. When you bake them, it's a cake. Okay? So these advanced directives look at it as a cake. But the different types of cake is whether or not you have a POST or a MOST. And then or a DNR. Okay? Now I can show you, here's a good example, and then we'll get into the other one. This says, what's the difference between the MOST versus a DNR? What's the difference? Medical orders for life-sustaining treatment versus do not resuscitate. So remember, life-sustaining treatments can be one thing, and the DNR says absolutely nothing. Okay? So in the event that you stop breathing, blah, 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 DNR says, no CPR. Used in emergencies, nope. No CPR if my heart or breathing stops, nope. Allows other medical care, nope. DNR says, I don't want none of that, absolutely none. And DNR, the CPR part, okay? CPR only. Because remember I told you could still be a DNR and still get treatment. You just don't want to be resuscitated if your heart stops or your breathing stops. Do you understand that part? CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Maybe I should have said it like that. Cardio, my heart, pulmonary, my lungs. I don't want my heart or my lungs resuscitated. Okay? That's the difference. But you can do the other stuff. And the MOST covers CPR only. You can specify during a medical emergency only. Used in all care settings. Includes a full treatment plan for serious illness or advanced conditions. So basically, like I said, a different type of cake you want and what ingredients you want in your cake. But at least you know you have decisions. That's the thing. It's not cut and dry, okay? The only thing that is cut and dry is the DNR. And I told you that that's usually done when a person is terminally ill, okay? Or their chronicity of their medical problems. For example, they're end-stage cancer. They're dying, and we know they're dying. You may not want to resuscitate someone who is dying and they know they're dying, and putting them on a ventilator and shocking their heart is not going to prolong the quality of their life. Okay? If a person has been electrocuted and their heart stops, it's a different story. That the reason that it stopped has to be taken into consideration. Okay, all right. All I know, they're not easy decisions, but not knowing what decisions can be made is even worse. Okay, so now I want to show you this one. This is the one that I showed too early, okay? Differences between advance directives and medical orders, okay? And the type of document, you got your advance directive, your DNR, and your post. And it comes down, and the thing that I highlighted was the main thing that most people want to know. And the other thing, the responsibility for review and updating, if you have an advance directive, is your responsibility to update and review and give to your physician and your family. The DNR order and the post orders, the physician has to update and review. That's their responsibility. The advance directive can be changed by your healthcare surrogate. But the DNR and the post cannot be changed without the physician saying so. You understand? You can say, if a person says, I do not want to be, wait a minute. If the advance directive says, I don't think they want to be intubated or whatever, or they want to be resuscitated. If they cannot tell that doctor that themselves, you have to tell the doctor they did not want, and then the doctor has to sign the DNR. You understand? Okay. All right. Is EMS required to follow an advance directive? No. But a DNR and a post? Yes. EMS can come and see that DNR and say, oh, don't resuscitate me. Okay? I hope this is making sense. I really do. I don't want to. It's something that you have to, I'm introducing it to you, but this is something that you really have to read, research somewhat on your own. My goal is to help you be informed that what it requires or need to know to make the right decisions, you yourself or someone for you. Now, the last thing I need to talk about in this part of our lecture is organ donation, which I said to you, you got to know that that's part of an advance directive. Now, this may sound like I'm promoting organ donation, because organ donation is a good thing. If you're on a renal failure or a heart transplant or a pancreas transplant list, you will be the most thankful person that somebody donated an organ. So if it sounds like I'm promoting it, so be it. Maybe I am. Because I technically am, okay? I really am, and I'm not ashamed to say that, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. Let me show you this first. Look at this right here. This is a very, very profound slide. One person can save 8 lives as an organ donor. 8. So your one life, at the end of your life, and you chose to be an organ donor, you can save 8 lives? And guess what? Organ procurement, your family would never, the way they procure a body, no one would never know anything was missing. No one would know that your dead body, lifeless body, had no heart, had no kidneys, had no lungs, I'm telling you, okay? Also, one person can heal 75 people as a tissue donor, not organ. So 8 lives from your organs and 75 people from your tissues. And one person can restore sight for 2 people, of course, because you only need one eye to see. Okay? Think about it. Look, that is why I said this is a very, very, very profound slide. And don't say, well, I'm 90 years old and look, hey, your 90-year-old skin can heal someone who has no skin, that lost their skin in a burn. Okay, let me show you. Check this out. Look at this right here. What can be donated? There's a difference between organs and tissue. Here's a good slide. Heart, lungs, kidneys, liver, even intestines and pancreas. Got it? Okay? You have 2 lungs and 2 kidneys. That's 4 right there. Heart, 5. 6, liver. Pancreas, 7. Intestines, 8. Didn't I say that one person as an organ donor can save 8 lives? You only need 1 good kidney, 1 good lung. Okay? All right. And in regards to the eyes, 2 people. You have 2 eyes. The corneas, regain sight. These are tissues that can be donated. So if your eyelids are closed and you're lying in the casket, and I know it sounds morbid that I'm saying this, but I'm telling you, they procure the ceremony, oh my God, the things that they do in organ procurement. It is like oh my gosh, I don't even know how to describe how much honor goes into organ procurement. Oh, it's just like, we have these memorials for people after they die. It's a tribute. Oh, it's beautiful. That mortal body, dust to dust. It's going to turn to dust. But if you allow someone to live from these organs that can be harvested, procured, okay? Because I'm getting ready to show you a slide that says terms that we should use and not use, okay? But look at the tissue, the corneas, the tendons. People who have tendon ruptures, valves that repair. So you mean to tell me we do not have to use pig valves anymore? That if a person were to donate valves in their heart, then somebody can have human valves replaced in their heart? They don't use the artificial valves as much as they used to. Okay? Because God has given man wisdom and knowledge how to do transplants on things that in the past we couldn't. They ain't always known how to transplant a pancreas. Skin heals burn patients, especially, and I hate, Lord, forgive me, Jesus, for saying this, but if you lost a lot of weight and you had a lot of extra skin, and I'm not trying to be funny in saying this, but do you know how that skin could bless someone that was burned and had no skin? Bones prevent the need for amputation. Are you telling me that someone can get a bone graft? Yes. There are times that they even harvest your own bone, like your ischial, the spine. They may take a piece of that and put it, I'm telling you, woo, to God be the glory. If my God did not allow, first of all, the Lord created us as human beings to have a little extra this, a little extra that. The appendix that you have ain't needed. They take it out. No big deal. Okay? The gallbladder. He fixed it where, listen, God is so good. He is so good. He is so good. He gave you 3 lobes of lung on one side and 2 on the other. Can they not remove a lobe and you still live after lung cancer? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. All right. Now, and I do apologize. I know I'm going a little bit over, but it's okay because we're going to finish with the organ donation and then we'll be done for tonight. So these are the things the terms that we should no longer use or say. Instead of saying harvest, because I caught myself. You don't say harvest organs. You now say recover or procure. We don't say body parts. We say donated organs and tissues. We do not say cadaver or cadaveric donation. We say deceased donor or deceased donation. We don't say life support. Oh, do you want to be left on life support? We say ventilator support or mechanical support. And we don't say even though we still say your wishes should be known, or make sure someone knows your wishes, it's better. I'm not going to say not to say that because it's still said a lot. But it's better to say decisions versus wishes. Okay? Now, I done told you what can be donated. So now the last two things I wanted to share with you were, I've got two separate slides, and one is I like them both. Let's do this. Let's do this one first, okay? And this is in regards to organ and tissue donation process. A referral comes in from a hospital. So people who actually are on these organ donor lists, like on a list to receive a kidney, they get referred. You may get a call or whatever, referral from a hospital. Medical evaluation is done. Check your donor registration, right? You see the little licensure there? Then they do a medical and a social history review. Okay, now, right? Are you HIV positive? Certain disorders that would disqualify you for tissue and organ donation. And I'm not going to get in depth into that, but there are reviews that need to be done. Testing and matching the donor to the recipient. Yeah, they test. Are you a match? Okay, and that's the reason why a lot of people are on a list for a certain period of time. And remember now, you got the blood type. We talked a while back about the universal blood donor and this. And we got to do tissue and typing, right? It has a lot to do with the matching the donor to the recipient. Because you don't want rejection. Then there's the organ recovery, which is the procurement that I was telling you about. There is an agency, organ procurement agency. There's a team of people who fly in. The body is taken to the operating room, a surgical procedure. And the organs are removed. They are put on ice, or they're preserved where the tissue doesn't die, and flown where it needs to go. Okay, and there is a designated team for this who procures, and then there's the team. There's a team that comes and removes the organs, transports the organ. And it's an awesome thing. And then, and there was one time I thought about how I would have loved to have done something such as that. But family obligations and this, that, and the other, my children, I couldn't do it. But it was something that piqued my interest at one time. And so they recover the tissues, and then there's the funeral arrangements, okay? So like I said, the body is presented to the funeral home undisturbed. They feel for example, if they removed the heart, they would put something in its place. Okay, you wouldn't have a sunken chest, or you know what I'm saying? Okay, all right. That's why it's done in the operating room. And then here's another slide that shows the two pathways to deceased organ donation. And I'm not going to. It just shows you that there's different pathways that it can be presented, because it can be done after a person is brain dead, or donation after circulatory death is determined. So either the brain is dead and they're on a ventilator, they're on medication and things to keep the body alive, versus no cardiac conduction, where there would be a machine that is pumping, that's keeping the, instead of the, like a pacemaker, okay? But there's no circulatory, nothing going on. And you immediately discuss with the family and get authorization at that point. But if the person is brain dead, you have to be declared brain dead. And it has to be more than one doctor. There's EEG tests, show that there's no electrical brain waves or activity from the brain. So, and I personally have been involved as a critical care nurse in both of these situations. I have, years ago. And that, I think that is one of the reasons at one point in time I even contemplated doing such. But anyway, but I just wanted you to see that there are steps that have to be taken, okay? Either way. And then, and that's basically it. I just wanted to, just let you know that this is a part of an advance directive. And these are how we need to make sure our family are well informed. Whenever we, when we're alive and well, make our wishes known, have those discussions. And I personally have, informed my family, right? They know the deal. It is what it is, okay? Because my heart and my soul, not the physical heart, right? But it belongs to the Lord. It belongs to God. And the God who created me, he knew that our mortal bodies would not last. And God gave man wisdom and knowledge how to do these things. Okay? Dialysis, I told you, has not always been an option. And then to even do dialysis at home now. There are people who are choosing to do dialysis that would not have chosen to do dialysis because now they get to do it at home. There's peritoneal dialysis that you can do while you're sleeping at night. The options are there. You just have to have the right resources. Okay? All right. To God be the glory. I thank you for your time tonight. We will have part 3 on next week, where I've accomplished all that I wanted to accomplish in regards to talking about advanced directives. And then next week, we're going to talk about medical decision making. I want you to understand what goes into making medical decisions that would say the quality of life, right? That there is a process that is taking place in medical decision making. And we had already on last week started talking about shared decision making. We're going to get more in depth into shared decision making and the medical decision making, and where the two put their heads together and do what's best. So Because if you can't make decisions and your family has to make decisions, someone needs to know what's what. Okay? All right. Well, to God be the glory. God bless you. We love you. And I am looking forward to let me see. Sunday. I love being able to have service with my husband on Sunday, and hopefully, prayfully, he and I will prepare more in advance for our Sundays. You know, our sometimes it's like we're two ships passing in the night whenever I work at night and he works during the day, but we are going to be anchored to one lighthouse at the same time where we can get it together. All right. To God be the glory. Love you, love you, love you. Have a restful night's sleep. Blessings.